now was $30,000 to $40,000 back in the mid-90s. And the punchline is that commercial photography has now become a commodity, requiring only good enough skill sets with low compensation. So I moved into direct response marketing services to small business owners. Loved doing that. Had a great time until the recession hit. Then I changed hats again, and I started doing what I call teaser marketing videos, website welcome videos, because bandwidth was expanding exponentially on the internet. So I took advantage of that. These days, I do video production and instruction, which is why I came to Ray's group in Schaumburg. I'm now taking those instructional lessons and converting them to online, very similar to what we're doing right now. So changing with the changing times.
Okay. And Jolene. No, we can't hear you, Jolene.
You have to unmute yourself.
No. Okay, I'll tell you what. Are you back on, or are you?
She's muted.
No, I'm waiting for Jolene. Well, while you're working on that, Doug, why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm Doug Timberland, and I own Cups Industrial Supply here in Phoenix, Arizona. I like to say that we do all different types of sealing products. When I say sealing, I'm talking about fluid sealing, sealing of air, so pneumatic, that type of thing. And we supply people from the outhouse to the penthouse. I'm telling you, we have stuff in wastewater treatment plants, but I also have stuff up in outer space. I'm AS 9100, I'm ISO 9000. I am certified with the government. So we do a lot of different things for a lot of different people.
Okay, good. And Jolene, can you speak now?
I am. I'm unmuted. Yeah, I had a couple of different dials here to fiddle with. My name again is Jolene Spencer. I'm a business consultant, and I do marketing strategy, meeting facilitation, marketing research. I spent 30 years in the financial services industry, most of which was on the marketing side, where I ran a small business team initially and then ran a marketing department for a community development bank. So these days, as I have mentioned in my Pro group, I've been a member of Pro for a long time, starting first as a sponsor with Harris Bank many years ago in Chicago, and then subsequently keeping my membership, and as I moved banks, also stayed with Pro. But the one thing that I wanted to say to everyone is that I'm kind of in my quote unquote home office, which is in a hallway. We've got a new situation in our family. My husband's 3 teenage children have just joined us last week, and so they might be coming down. So if you see a figure walk by behind me, just ignore the man behind the curtain.
Well, it's good to see that you cope, Jolene. So,
well, I'm learning.
Okay, now my technician and actually a partner in crime on this is Zen Benefield. So Zen, why don't you introduce yourself?
Well, hi everybody, and I'm hoping that the sound doesn't echo too much because we've got a couple of microphones here and kind of the guy behind the curtain, and I never know what I'm going to be doing.
You can tell that as a technician, he just screwed up, but that's okay. Jared would not be very happy with that audio transmission, but okay, what I'd like to basically, if you, on the upper right-hand corner, I'm told there is a box that says, what the hell does it say?
Speaker view.
Speaker view. So if you want to have a full picture of the speaker who's speaking, you just click on speaker view. If you want to go back to the group, you then click on gallery view. So that's just for your information. So in the upper right-hand corner is a box. If you click on speaker view, it will show you the whole speaker. If you just click on gallery view, it'll show you the gallery, all the people. Secondly, on the bottom, there's also another box which is chat. And if you click on chat, You can also put in memos or questions or comments regarding something as we go along, and it'll show up on the screens.
Got it.
That kind of gives you an idea if you want to take advantage of those, some of those features. There are other features, but rather than getting too complex at this time, that's just to get us started. My thought is I don't have a particular topic like a book review or anything, but we're almost 6 months through the year. So I'd like to get an idea as to, if you think about it, where are you on your plans, and what do you have to accomplish in the last 6 months? What are you going to do to get there? So Doug, we'll start with you. Where are you on your yearly plan?
Well, doing okay. I basically have I've been to two meetings. I call them the GBU meetings. They're the good, the bad, the ugly. That's where we get together and we pull everybody in and we say, okay, what's working, what's not, and how are we going to get better on it. I had the first one we did, I started what I call the 312 initiative. That is the 3 things that would change your department the most in 12 weeks. And then we monitored those when it came back. It didn't turn out as well as I had hoped. But we're going, you know, when you fall off a bike, you get back up and ride it again. So we're going to try to ride that again. We're going to try to get a little bit better at how we do things and holding things in. You try new things, and so that's kind of what's happened. My numbers look really, really good. You know, I don't know if that's, well, I do know it's just due to the business climate. The business climate has done really, really well, and so that has been good. We have initiated electronic tracking for orders because we are trying to serve our customers better. Basically our core values is profitable, right, and on time. That used to be kind of a standard thing. It isn't anymore. Seems like we get things late all the time, so we're trying to be profitable, right, and on time. And that's the goal of the company, and that's what we're trying to accomplish here with our core values. So we're riding the bike and we're doing okay, but I'd like to see some progression, and I have some ideas on that, and share those with you later.
Okay, well, we'll come back to that. Rob, how are you doing for 6 months?
Doing pretty good. I'm behind on some marketing initiatives, but working on some other objectives. You know, but overall tracking okay. It's a good, like Doug said, you know, business is good overall. Seeing customers spending money and you know, doing things well, and you know, having a good balance of bringing on new clients, and you know, just normal. I'm still having some struggles hiring people. It's a really tight labor market, and finding the right people is always a challenge, and you know, kind of going from there.
Okay. And Tara, where are you? I know you're in Phoenix, but where are you?
I'm in Scottsdale. I have a brand new business, so I'm only really seriously working it like 7 months now. The rest of my career, my whole life, I work corporate as a technician and as a manager and every other job you can think of. But so it's just me right now doing my business. So I went from zero to supporting myself, which is really good. Right now I am getting ready to move physically. And so after that, my plans for the next year, the next 6 months, are to ramp up enough business to have about 3 people and me. And when that happens, then my goal really at some point is to keep my business running, but not do so much of it, just manage it, and then just have a little bit of relaxation time.
Oh, so you want to have employees, you know?
Yeah, a couple.
Now, Jolene knows one member who has a line that says, "I never wish competition ill. I only wish them more employees." So you may want to think about that. So Jolene, where do you think you are at this point in your expectations? I know that you have a major change in lifestyle now.
Yes, yeah, the end of an era. Well, we are, I would probably say we're behind. And part of it has to do with the business decision that we made to discontinue a downsizing business that we have. So we actually closed down our physical. We had a couple of physical locations. We closed down the physical locations, and we're going to move selling to an online platform. And it's easier said than done, just because we just are not tech wizards. So we had a lot of small inventory that needs to be photographed, described, and put online. On the consulting side, I had a couple of major projects that ended that haven't yet been replaced. So my goal for the second half of the year is really to double my consulting revenues based on the first half, and get our online platform set up for sales.
Okay. And Jared, I know you're taking a class as to membership type of activity.
Right.
So what do you hope to do with that?
What I hope to do with that is, well, monetize what I have, the knowledge I have, and teaching people how to produce effective marketing videos. Where I'm at now is in the middle of all of that, changing direction, having joined your group and also getting coaching, starting coaching with an image consultant, Sarah Victory, if any of you know her. Just reframing how I present my offerings. For our last pro meeting, it was pointed out to me by 2 members that I was targeting a little too tight with the video training, the video marketing, teaser marketing video training. I had to broaden the funnel because it felt the target was too small, way too narrow. And Sarah Victory confirmed that with my meeting a few days after that, with a new line, which is, she said, Jared, you need to become known as the easy, high-quality video secrets guy, which is a much broader funnel. And as people come into it, oh, you need to make this type of video, that type of video, that. Okay, and where are your skill sets? I developed a quiz to test where people's skill sets are in scripting, presentation skills, production skills, meaning using equipment to get clean sound, clean picture, editing skills, and then the video marketing, which is the distribution of one's video. So people can self-evaluate where they're at, and I say self-evaluate because eventually, and soon eventually, this all has to go online. So there'd be less hands-on involvement from me. So I'm sort of processing all this in my head to put it together correctly.
Okay.
Big shift.
So I'm going to come back to you a little bit later, because we're going to talk about, when you say it has to be online, the question is how do you market online? And Jerry, how are you doing?
Well, Ray, I'm not having a great year to this point in time because I'm constantly bumping up against the fact that executives do not understand that people are the greatest asset, and that the greatest and best investment they can make is in training those executives. I've been focusing on accounting and law firms primarily for the past few months, or actually since the tax deadline ended, back on the accounting firms. But I've had success with partners at 2 large law firms, but gone no further with additional partners. The managing partner, who was the decision maker in both cases, have told me, you know, when we need you, we'll call you. Well, they need me, but they certainly don't call me. My biggest challenge, which has always been, is that my only name competition is Dale Carnegie and the American Management Association. Top executives never come from human resources. They come from sales, finance, or operations. And they don't budget money for management training. In fact, even the remaining local banks are no longer budgeting money, anything significant, for management training and development. So, but with very few organizations recognizing the need, I'm constantly working to make clients, prospective clients, aware of the value of putting money into their people. And one of the statistics that shows that dramatically is that the average person only uses somewhere between 15 and 20% of his or her potential. High achievers, people like are on this call, use about 33%. We all have a reservoir that was drilled out of us by no's and don'ts and can'ts and shouldn'ts, and we live in a world of negative conditioning. So we try to help people, leaders, change attitudes which drive their behavior, but unfortunately they don't recognize that they need it. And the biggest objection we get, because one of the areas we work in is time management, is this looks good, this looks like it would be helpful, but we don't have the time. That's simply a defense mechanism. I know that. I'm in the psychology business. I'm not a psychologist. As you know, Ray, in addition to previously facilitating for Pro years ago, I've run a company of 125 people as CEO. I tell people, had I known then about myself what I know now, I'd be running a company of 300 or 400 people, because I would have been delegating, which I was unable to do at that point in my life. And delegation is one of the skills that many leaders do not possess for a host of reasons.
Okay, what I hear is, the common thing I hear is from Rob about marketing plan. Jared hasn't mentioned a marketing plan, but he mentioned a new product when he went to introduce. Jolene says she wants to double her consulting type of activities, or working with people activity. Jerry, you're saying, I haven't really heard it, you're saying that business is difficult because people don't quite understand the need. So what I'm really hearing is a marketing type of issue. From Jerry, what I basically hear is that you're not creating pain for your people or your prospects. But let me go back up to Rob. And Tara is basically says, I want to have more people, and therefore I need to create more work for people to do all this. And Doug seems to be a happy camper right now, although he wants to explore different new ideas. So Rob, I know you mentioned marketing plans in the past, but what do you want to accomplish with marketing?
I think that what we have done is put a lot of work into building our various service offerings. The original marketing for the business was done about 4 years ago. It's a very general kind of wide net. And since then, the business has, evolved and kind of found itself. And our net has narrowed into, very specific service offerings. So really, it's kind of two sides. And the reason, to some degree, the reason the marketing is behind is because we have developed the practice and the process for the service offerings prior to the marketing, or I should say, we've been kind of experimenting in that service offering realm, but we found a handful of niches for that. And then, now it's time to formalize those things, get them onto our website, get them onto print material for meeting with clients. We've started an email campaign component where we're starting to blast out emails to folks on various marketing or various service offerings. And again, we're an IT professional services firm, so I talk about service offerings. They're geared towards mid-sized business owners, and anything from like a fishing training service offering where we build a training campaign for clients around identifying and repelling phishing attempts, to backup and disaster recovery, to there's a handful of things that are service offerings that are defined on the technical and the practice side, but now need that kind of artsy flair to it, and also process development around marketing. And part of the challenge for me, and you said the delegation component, I've delegated, I think I've done a good job delegating everything in the business, in terms of the operations side, the accounting, all of that. The marketing piece, though, requires a skill set that I only possess, or I should say I have a more more of a skill set in that area, although I can get support from others in the business, but it's about, you just got to you got to do it. It's a combination of marketing's always got a little bit of a creative flair to it, but also a engineering process around execution and rollout and constant, touches and things like that. So it's just a big daunting task, and it's never really done. And I think I'm struggling with laying out I'm struggling kind of getting going, because it's a big process. So we started some of the emailing stuff, and that's been good, but again, you got to stay with it. Now you're creating more processes that need to be followed up, because the stuff only works if you keep doing it.
So Jolene, what do you think about that? Oh, we lost your voice again.
Yes, please, Jolene, give us some solutions here.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I was going to say, I think Rob is right that marketing does take an interesting mix of skill sets, including creative and execution. And so often, just the whole marketing process gets stymied because it just seems so overwhelming. So Rob, what I would suggest though is think about the one or two things that you want to do. There's a lot that you could do, but what's going to be most effective for the business now, and to focus attention on that. In some cases, it might be, let's build a website. And let's make sure that if people are looking for information about who we are, all of the information that we have or that we can offer them is available at their fingertips. And you can also use that website to also build some brand awareness in terms of offering some thought leadership pieces or just some really interesting tidbits. And the second might be is if in fact you're really interested in doing a business development push, is really looking at who are your primary customers, who are your potential secondary customers, and what's going to be the most effective way to reach the decision maker. One of the things that I've done with a company, one of my consulting partners, they develop content management. And one of the smartest things they've done is really identify who makes the decision in the firms that you're going after. And in different kinds of firms, that title varies. And so really identifying who makes the decision for the work that you do is really critical, because then you can start to direct your marketing, your calls at that particular group. And so, yeah, it takes some time, but again, don't try to do it all. Do the one or two things that you think are most critical for achieving results in the next half year.
Does anybody have any other comments regarding marketing? Zen?
I do. I'm going to use your microphone rather than mine. Can you guys hear me okay with this?
Yes.
Okay, great. We're sitting across the room, so I'm going to avoid feedback. Several things. First of all, the advent of social media. There's 3 different platforms that are being in use depending on the customers that you're going to go after: Facebook, LinkedIn, and business Google pages. I find for my clients, my business has picked up tremendously this last year because I've proven that I know what I'm doing by getting first page rankings, not only nationally, for instance, with Ray peer advisory groups. I've also been able to get local business listings on the Google search that rank high. So these things are all, especially with LinkedIn as well. Keywords, keywords, keywords. Your most important feature, and proliferate your profiles, your summaries, your about pages and things like that. So it brings people to you. I hear a lot of discussions about push marketing, the emails, the advertising, things of that nature, that you're trying to get people to your website. When you put yourself in places where you make yourself available for the search engines to find you, that also gives you an advantage. As you said, Jolene, that's a piece of your marketing mix, but it's an important one today to determine who your target market really is, where they're showing up at, and what keywords they're going to be looking for in order to find the information or services that you offer. And if you're not doing a digital product, which has a global appeal, then you're going to want to focus locally. And like Jerry, you had said earlier, you do a lot of your stuff face to face. So it's important, and that ultimately, I think what all of you are after is getting those face to face meetings. And this is one of the things that can draw that.
Anybody have any other comments? Rob,
I just want to piggyback on something that Zach said that is really, I think, critical, and that is really understanding the role of social media these days, and that people, when they're, and all of us, when we're looking for any kind of advice or any kind of service, the first place we go is to the internet. So having a really clear description, profile, however large or small we make it, is really, I think, the very critical, is a very critical issue. You want that to be, you know, you never get a second chance to make a good first impression. And so if people are looking for you, they find you, you want to make sure that they are able to say, oh, I can snatch, grab, identify what I'm looking for here, and then that will trigger them maybe to move to something else.
Okay, the comment I was going to make is, Rob, I think in your business, I talk sometimes about macro and micro marketing plans. And I think some of the social media is more on the macro side, but maybe what you need is a micro side plan. And the micro plan is really, you say, who are the customers I really want to target, learn everything about those customers. And therefore, you basically put together a plan that's going to attack those particular people that you want to get. Rob, do you think in terms of that way, or are you thinking in a much broader fashion?
You know, to some degree, it's, I hear what you're saying. I guess part of, you know, honestly, one of the challenges I have is that I feel like I've got these service offerings pretty well developed. So I've got a pretty good end game in place, and I've got good ideas, I think, on how the marketing should work. It's just getting to it, not just getting to it, but it's just a big daunting task. And I understand the complexity of it, the websites, the social media aspects, the email marketing campaign, the, you know, I mean, even, you know, just graphic support, things like that. It's just a big daunting task. And the other thing is that because a lot of it's just not written down, it's not like I can go to a marketing firm and say, you know, here, do this. It's still at a point where I gotta kind of write the base documentation of what these things are to turn them from something I can sell in person to something that is consumable and I can communicate via website that can draw keywords. So, you know, really it's just, it's probably what I really need to do is spend 40 hours or so writing the base material, and then I can go source or, you know, start delegating out the tasks in terms of make this pretty, make this support, you know, do these email campaigns. I think I've got a pretty good identified, I've been identified well who the customer is, and I hear what you're saying there, or what I think Jolene was saying. I think they're pretty good on that side, you know, just in terms of company size, role, things like that, and even right down to the different service offerings. But it's just like I said, it's just kind of daunting when you got all these other responsibilities. I mean, I'm already running a business. To add that on is just, you know, and it's kind of the back burner thing that it because nobody's chomping it, nobody's calling me to get it done. That's what kind of falls behind.
Well, any comments on that?
Yeah, I think accountability is huge, you know, and I think that's for everybody, because we do what's comfortable.
Yeah.
That's what people do. People typically don't throw themselves out there to do uncomfortable things. And therefore, you're going to have somebody with a cattle prod behind you, making sure you go down that road to go ahead and do those things. Because I think that's, people have good ideas. People want to act on them and everything else. But at the end of the day, what you do really is what matters.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to do. You don't talk about it. You have to do it. And that's hard. When I say that, that's hard for everybody. I have the same issue with me. I've got things I need to do, and especially in the area of marketing and those kind of things. I even know how I want to do it. But it's one of those things, it's always the back noise, like you say. And so you probably need a good accountability partner to kind of push you down that road. I mean, I know I do.
You know, it's interesting. I perceive Rob as a sales-orientated individual. Doug is more of a process-orientated type person. And we're talking about marketing. So marketing is always to you would be a back burner item because it's not really in the forefront of your mind. It's not your basic skill set. And you may have to bring in an outside, Rob, you probably have to bring in an outside party. You probably have enough to describe to somebody to have them present you with a plan to do it. Because if you try to do it yourself, it's never going to get done. Just because you're fully involved in other activities.
I disagree with you, Ray, on that. I think that, I did the first round of marketing. I just had more time to do it. I think that I'm fully capable of doing. I know what I'm doing. It is just a matter of
doing it.
I mean, part of it is kind of hit a point of things are going well. So it's,
yeah. Rob, let me just say that I might reverse the order in terms of what you're thinking about doing. You say write the plan first and then engage. I think that I'd look for a really, strong, somebody that you can work with, partner, sit down with them, talk it through with them, and then see what they need from you. And then that way, if you've got to spend 40 hours, what you need to spend that 40 hours on. And then they might surprise you in terms of how much they know or what they can provide you with first. But before you make that investment in your time on that kind of work, I think I'd sit down with somebody that you like, that you think can really do the job, and explain to them what you want.
Okay, I think Rob is probably getting too much from us right now. Maybe.
Yeah, pick on somebody else, man.
Probably.
So, Jared, you mentioned that you're preparing this plan, but you're also talking about selling this online. So, have you put together your thoughts as to how you're going to approach the market on this, and who have you defined your customer? I know you said you narrowed it, probably you widened it.
Right. If you'd asked me this question beginning of the year, I had a pretty strategic plan in place, but you came along and other people came along and upset the apple cart. So I'm going in different directions now. It's a totally different business model. A membership business model is I'm still actually processing what that looks like. And as I have been saying to my clients for many years, visualize where you want to be. Where's the end result? Then we can work backwards to create all the pieces to get there. I'm doing that now.
Okay, so you say that your clients, when you say you're doing that now, have you visualized where you want to be?
I begin to visualize who those clients are. It's a broader picture now.
Have you defined some of the activities you have to get done?
That I have to get done before I can present to them? Yes.
Going back to Jolene's comment to Rob earlier about one or two key items to identify, if I take you back to the 10-week year, basically they're talking about defining activities. Is that
12-week year.
12-week year, pardon me. I got so excited I already gave it a discount. But if I take you back to the 12-week year, their philosophy is you identify what you want, where you want to be in 12 weeks. And then you pick 2 or 3 of those goals. And then you talk about, in order to achieve those goals, what are the activities? And you measure your performance of the activities. in order to move it forward. And I think that was one of the most important aspects of people doing you.
Yeah, I think that's a primary function of getting the list put together and getting it done. You know, it's the whole idea of baby steps, Bob, right? You break it down into chunks that are achievable, because most of us look at this big picture and we try and create it all at once. And that's great, but like you were saying, Jared, you know, you start with the end in mind, which is, you know, everybody says to start with the goal in mind, right? And then you break it back down into those achievable steps where you're doing it from a monthly to a weekly to an hourly and almost to a moment by moment, so that you're really focused. And even if you have to create a list of those detailed items to keep yourself focused, because we've all got major distractions going on around us, then that brings us back into that ability to achieve.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. I have a short list here I have to have done in 2 weeks, within 2 weeks.
Okay.
There's another pro meeting and another meeting with Sarah Victory. Part of that is, I have to work on my new 30-second sort of overview of what I'm doing with this video training. An outline of a book.
Okay, I don't like the word work on, because that doesn't give me completion.
It's like trying.
I mean, when you say work on, yes, you can work on it, but you're not really saying how far you're going to get, where you're going to get.
Okay.
Is a kind of a procrastination.
Right. Yeah, no, you're right. The language is important. I have to have completed my new 30-second, Jared, what do you do? Response. I have to have completed an outline of the book. That chunks it down. It's the outline. It's not the first chapter. It's not the first half.
All right.
The book. And the first draft of what is called a leader's legacy story. It's sort of your story condensed. I was here. Now I'm here. Here's where I'm going. And here's what is of benefit to you folks, the prospective clients. So that all has to be done within 2 weeks.
Okay, good. All right, good. Call me up and let me know when you get it done.
I will.
Because you have to create accountability many times.
Right. I may send you some PDFs to get your feedback.
Okay, good. Jolie, you never raise an issue when you have the meeting. You always say everything is going okay. So now you have some projects which are running out. So what are you going to do to say we get those back up online, or get different ones up online?
You know, as I was listening to the feedback that was going back to Rob, even that which was coming out of my own mouth, it reminded me there's probably some things I need to do as well. And in particular, my primary focus will probably not be on consulting. I mean, that's largely a referral-based business, and because it is project oriented, you know, you're always chasing after the latest project. What I'm really going to probably do is spend at least the next couple of months really trying to get the online business up and running, because for the most part, it's something of an annuity business. Once you get things listed and online, and you know, you have a relatively large inventory, if people are buying what you have, you don't necessarily have to tend to it that way. So I really see myself becoming more engaged with the social media. And in particular, I was just writing down, I have an Etsy store now. I need to obviously get more inventory into it. I don't have an Instagram account, but I do know that's really important, particularly for the kinds of things we sell. And I need to make sure that I get that up on online and running. And then I have an eBay store that's not really set up. So I've got my work cut out for me, in addition to becoming a new mother.
Okay, so what are you going to get done in the next 4 weeks? What are the
next 12 weeks?
What are the things you're going to
well, I think the next 12 weeks I will have stores and or presence, maybe not large, on those 3 platforms that I talked about: Etsy, eBay, and Instagram.
Okay, all right. And Jerry, you keep on saying that people don't want to do training.
Correct.
Okay, so So maybe you have to approach your technique. Have you thought about that? Or are you still, there's we were talking, the book we're working on this month is a book called Tribes by Seth Godin. And he talks about something about staying stupid. And the staying stupid is that you take old techniques and you try to use them in a new market, where the market has changed. So have you changed your techniques to the market?
Well, my techniques are fine, Ray. My challenge is getting him to talk to a decision maker who needs to be a president, CEO, or managing partner of accounting or law firm. My closing ratio is over 50%. My opening ratio I don't track because it would be too depressing. Because again, remember, I'm dealing with people who don't budget money for what I'm offering. They don't know that they need what I'm offering, and therefore they're not cognizant of the value.
Now, wait, you said earlier that you were having trouble with just convincing them, and then you tell me that you have a 50% close rate. 50% close rate is pretty good.
Yes.
So what are you having problems with? Getting in the door or closing?
Getting to see the decision maker, getting the appointment with the decision maker.
Okay. Are these cold calls that you're making or networking?
No, I don't do any cold calling. It's all connected with marketing prior, email marketing, referral marketing.
Okay, but you said earlier, I mean, you made the whole spiel about businesses not budgeting for training, but then you just said you have a nice, good close rate. So you're not having a problem getting people to budget for training. You're having a problem getting in front of people.
Well, no, most of the people I get in front of don't have any budget for training. I have to convince them. But once I get in front of them and I show them the process that I use and the value that it offers, they certainly are convinced that it's worth the investment.
Do they, with your program, do they get continuing education credit? Because you mentioned two firms, accounting and legal, and both of those firms require continuing education credits. So therefore, they're familiar with training and have some type of budget.
The New York CPA will not approve anything other than direct accounting for continuing education credit. And as far as the attorneys are concerned, I have not approached the possibility of obtaining credit.
May I suggest to you, it sounds like that you're a little bit like me. I don't have a mass marketing strategy, and the reason why I don't is because I'm not gonna, typical consumer's not gonna buy my stuff. I'm gonna be going to an engineer, I'm going to be going to a business owner perhaps, something, someone who is maintenance, something like that. So I have been really toying with the idea of utilizing LinkedIn and targeting the people that I've been successful with in the past. Like for instance, maintenance managers have, once we get in, we normally do lots and lots of stuff with them. So finding out who the maintenance managers are in my general area, and then if I can find them on LinkedIn, targeting a specific approach to hit them. Now you're charged a little bit more, but you're going directly to the decision maker. You're not going to get in the front door. My gal up front is like, nobody gets through the front door. But in a LinkedIn situation, you're going to win some, you're going to lose some, but maybe you're going to get some big hitters, because it does sound like that once you get in front of them, you have no problem convincing them. So maybe even and I don't know this to be a fact, but even like a short 30-second video to them saying, hey, I've got what you really need, because here's the deal. The most valuable asset you have is time. And I can create time for you, or something to that effect. I mean, just a thought. It may not work for you, but that's kind of where I'm kind of going down my rabbit hole right now.
And just going off of what Doug just said, you're saying that they don't want training. The decision makers don't want the training. What do they want? They do want certain results. What are those results? Can you lead with that?
Well, of course, I always lead with that, but it's very challenging, which is one of the reasons why human resource professionals never gravitate to the top position in an organization, to show tangible results from training and development.
I think there's another more sales-oriented head on here is that, in a kind of instance like that, that coming in on a higher level in an organization and being pushed to HR, like for example, if that's something, you said you don't do cold calls. Well, cold calls still work, and you talk to the boss, the CEO, or the CFO, and you pitch training, and they might refer you to HR, but carrying that referral with you is gonna help to push the priority up.
I appreciate the suggestion, but I don't talk to HR because they have no decision-making authority. It's just be a waste of my time. All they can do is tell my story to the top person. I go to the top person to begin with.
Do you have trouble? You said you have trouble getting to the decision maker. Is that correct?
Yes, because that's the president, the CEO, or the managing partner.
Okay, I have a fellow in Chicago who has his business was, I don't know if it still is that you give him a list of people that you want to meet. And that he basically would create an environment, or basically not create, but he would tell you environments that you can meet this person either at a charity function, social function, or club function, whatever it is. And therefore you would meet them in these activities. So you now have met them. You can now have a reason to follow up with them in a business activity. I don't know if you ever thought about approaching it from left field, but it's another way to meet the party that you want to make contact with, and therefore follow up with them.
Well, it's a good suggestion, Ray. I talk to centers of influence all the time, and look for them to help me get connected, get to that person that I'm looking to reach.
Okay, Zen, you were saying something.
Well, the idea of relationship marketing that, like you mentioned, of setting yourself into situations where you're meeting these people or have the opportunity to in a more of a social or business networking environment, something like that, where you can develop a relationship and you're not immediately going after the sale. With the types of things that you do, Jerry, that it would seem that would be more important to get to know the person that you're attempting to engage, and you'd be able to find their pain points a lot easier that way.
Dan, I'm sorry, it's somewhat hard to hear you.
Okay, I'll speak up because I forgot I'm using the mic over there.
He's a very laid back person, so.
So the idea of creating the relationship so that you can have the conversations, develop your understanding of their pain points ahead of your sales pitch. I would also offer that in how you're talking about what you're doing to begin with, you say people don't want training. Get rid of that thought, first of all. And because that's your major impedance that I'm hearing from my perspective, and I've gone through that similar process myself and in some of the things that I do. And as hard as it was to change my thinking about that, I had to eliminate those thoughts, and my world changed accordingly.
Right. Okay, interesting. Doug, is there anything you want to bring up today? I know that you're thinking of other activities, but.
Well, I've got some big stuff coming up next week. I'm flying up to New York and talking to a guy about maybe how we can join forces. He's much larger. He needs a kind of a West Coast facility to work with and to grow. I've made it clear that I'm not really interested in selling, but I am interested in coming up with a way of succession down the road. I'm still relatively young to retire or anything like that, and I'm not planning on that.
How did you lose all your hair then?
What?
I said, if you're so young, how do you lose all your hair then?
Dude, stressed, man. You know how that is. You got to have people beating on you all the time, so it's all about it. I've got employees. What did I tell you? So anyway, the long and the short of it is you need to begin that everything that I have read and everything way in advance of what you think you're going to do. to make things smooth, because quite frankly, it's really important to me that the people that work for me do well, and there's plenty of opportunity for them. I think this might be a place where they can get more opportunity, but you know, there's a number of things that I'm working on right now. Like one of the things that my big focus is right now is I'm working on my internal customer, because the external customer will never receive better service or anything than you're going to get from the internal person. In other words, your internal processes, the way you function internally, will never be better, or will never be better than what's going to happen on the outside. And I want my customers to experience great things on the outside, so we need to be good internal. And so we're going to check out how we receive information, how we process that information, and where the gaps are, so we can become better internally. So therefore, we will have better customer service, better customer relations, and everything else, because our mission really is good customers for life.
Okay.
We are trying to keep our good customers for life. So that's kind of what I'm working on.
Okay, you had mentioned before you had some delivery situations. Do you measure your performance?
Absolutely.
And what is your success rate of on-time delivery?
We're right now, here's the deal. We put that in sectors. Okay. So, our on-time delivery for a commercial customer is right at about 87%.
And what is your goal?
The goal is to be at least 93. A lot of that 87%, and this is what I talk about when, getting it to the customer right and on time. So much of what you experience in my business is if your vendors don't get you the products on time, so it throws you behind. About 6% of that issue is getting the material from outside. So we've really been talking about creating an expediter position, which is one more person in the chink, but that's what we're thinking about doing. We have to do that in order to keep that kind of flowing. My military business is in the 90s, except my business directly to the government, and that is my worst one, and that's probably down in the 60s, and it all has to do with external factors. So I got to work on that.
So when I had my company, we used to measure line fill, and our goal was a 95% line fill, and the government was the one we gave the poorest service to.
That's where we do too.
Because in order to get the work, we had to be the low bidder, and that's it. So if we were the low bidder, we got the contract. Whereas the other distribution type of activities, I sometimes use a line that you go to a restaurant that has 5 waiters, we need 6, and pretty soon they only need 4, because it's a service issue. So the aspect is, I always found that service issue, and I'm assuming that you have an MRP system. And I found that was the most difficult to maintain or be able to give a high level of service. And once you give a high level of service, your customers expect it all the time. And that's true. Well, they're not getting into the government right now, I'll tell you that. So that's not an issue.
Doug, we had, I was in the aerospace industry years ago, and I was part of kind of a lead guy on a team that the company put together because they had, the Department of Defense had taken $1 million a month progress payment away from the company because of their 27% delinquency for military spares. So they put a team together in order to solve that problem. What you're talking about, putting an expediter in place at your level, would probably solve a lot of those issues, because you'd have somebody in play massaging the details, your schedules, your delivery dates, how to truncate those schedules, get out ahead of it, maybe plan on ordering sooner, anticipating the orders. There's all kinds of different things you can do that an expediter would be able to manage. And even though it's one more, light item on your budget, it would probably more than pay for itself.
Yeah, the issue, and you know what? I really think about that, and I really think that may be where we're going to go on this. Then the issue really though is this external issue of you can't order until you get an order. Then when you get the order, you order it, and we've had guys that are like 6 months late, and 3 months late, and we'll put 120-day lead time on it. We'll try to massage those numbers. We've had a very difficult time, but I think it really boils down to more what Ray said. In our particular situation, everything is won based on the lowest bid. And so who do you go to? The person that gives you the lowest price. And so then you suffer the consequences for them. My guess is at some point the government looks at it and says, hey, you know, you're really a terrible supplier. And what you go is you say, hey, now just a second. You have mandated where we go to even get this product. In a lot of instances, you have said you have to go to this person, and then they turn up late, and then you hit me. And so, you know, and I understand, you know, it's kind of a whine deal, but it just is, and you know, I can demonstrate this to you. So it's going to be a little bit more of a complex situation, I think. But I'm not sure how to fix it. I got to be honest with you. I just don't really know.
Are you permitted to have multiple backup suppliers, or is it?
No. It's legislated on a lot of these prints. It's legislated. This is where you will go, and then they'll hold you up for like paperwork or something and say, well, you don't have paperwork that backs this up. I've ordered it from the supplier you asked me to order it from. That's exactly where it came from. I don't know how to get anything else out of them.
Do you consider, I don't know if your party will accept it, but do you consider putting in a penalty in for late delivery, and maybe give them a reward if they deliver early? The premise is that how do you raise the priority for somebody to supply you?
And again, that goes back to, okay, I give you more if you get it on time, but the government's not willing to pay more.
So.
Well, they just want you to pay. They just want it their way, and I get that. I totally get that. I'm not trying to argue a point. I'm just saying this is kind of what is, and I don't know what to do about it necessarily.
Well, one aspect is you might be too understanding about when you say you get it. Maybe you shouldn't get to the point where you get it. Maybe you should be more difficult. In other words, the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Right.
That's where your expediter does it. So,
yeah, and we've squeaked, and that may and so we're going to try that. We probably are most likely going to try that.
Okay, and Tara, I know that you're an individual type of person, a sole proprietor, and you say you want to build a business. So how are you going to build a business?
Well, one step at a time here.
What is
right now? I'm focusing so much on the move. I'm moving from one state to another. And then after that, I'll have well, I do work virtually, as you know, Ray, but I'm going to be in a new area. So I plan to start marketing in that area as well as anywhere in the United States. I have 2 people already that are wanting to be contractors. I just need the work.
I would imagine it's easier to get the contractors in as the work. Oh, maybe not today. So, do we lose sound? Can you
speak word of mouth right now?
Sure.
Because all of a sudden it got very quiet.
People weren't talking.
No, they aren't. No.
Lost the picture and sound on Tara.
There's no sound. Tara, can you hear me? Shake your head.
Yeah, her picture froze as well.
Yeah,
she's having probably.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Now,
can you hear me?
now we can hear you. Before
Okay.
you were very quiet for a moment.
I think I'm having a little bit of internet issue here. I'm not sure what's going on there.
Okay. All right. So where are you moving to?
I'm moving somewhere in Colorado, and I don't move like everyone else does.
Okay.
I am renting my house, and I'm going to get on the road and drive around and decide where I want to go.
Okay. All right.
So that means I'm going to be on the road while I'm working. So once I find the place, then, can you hear me now still?
Now you ought to change your name from virtual to nomad.
I've done it once before. It was, I did it when I was working for CVS. So it'll be a little easier this time.
Okay. Does anybody else have any issues they'd like to bring up on this trial meeting that they'd like to get some feedback on? Don't all speak at one time. Okay. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for participating. I appreciate your comments and your good looks. I get to see a very big close-up this way. And you do the same, I guess. If you could fill out the critique sheet that I sent you or that Zen sent you, I'd appreciate it very much. Because this is kind of an experiment on my part. Yeah, maybe it's an experiment for you also, to how you could do some business. And thank you very much for participating.
Thank you, Ray.
Thanks.
You all different meetings, except for Jerry, when I come to New York.
Okay.
This is great. I just want to say that I didn't know how it would go, but I actually feel like I'm talking to you in a room. So yeah, so this I really enjoyed it. And the one thing I will say about this, hopefully not to taint the waters, but I do think that the shorter format really works. So that's pretty cool. You could probably market this to a lot of other people because you don't have to leave your home or your office. You've got good visual connections. Audio wasn't bad, and boy, it's really easy to kind of talk and add your opinion. So I'm in.
Well, the thought was a market for people where there's not enough of a concentration of businesses to have a peer board.
I think both,
especially millennials who are very techie orientated, or who don't want to drive anywhere. So it's kind of an experiment. I don't know anyone who's really doing this. I mean, people are doing go-to-meetings and other things, but I haven't heard of anyone doing this particular format. I know of one company that tried it about 10 years ago, but maybe it was too early in the technology era. So I'd appreciate your thoughts when you get the critique sheet. And Jolene, I appreciate your thought.
I have a question for you all before we leave. I recorded most of this. Would you all be comfortable with 30-second to a minute clip of that being used as a marketing piece?
Yep.
That'd be fine.
Okay.
Good. Yep.
Rob, you got
Was it a thumbs up or is that an objection?
Okay, cool.
Thumbs up.
Well, would we, if we wanted to, will it be available online? Maybe password protected or something. If we wanted to, some of the comments were really, good, and I'm just wondering if there's.
I'll put the whole thing up on the Pro President site. I'll send you all a link.
Yeah, I'm just kind of thinking it through, how it might be repackaged and used again. And certainly since it's confidential, it would all have to be this group. But some of the marketing suggestions that were made, since a lot of us are interested in that, they were really good. And so it might be good to hear them again.
And that is another benefit to marketing this online version, to be able to review literally the entire meeting.
That's great. That's great. Great comment.
Particularly if it's not too long.
Okay, as long as you're right, not too long. Okay.
Fast forward.
Thanks. Nice meeting everyone.
Nice meeting you all.
Nice meeting you.